I first met him atop a mountain near Jerusalem, praying to God, asking his forgiveness for the Saracen blood spilt by his sword. Next, he amazed me still further in Italy when he saved a fatherless beauty from the would-be ravishings of her dreadful Turkish uncle. In Greece, he spent a year in silence just to better understand the sound of a whisper. And so, without further gilding the lily, and with no more ado, I give to you the seeker of serenity, the protector of Italian virginity, the enforcer of our Lord God, the one, the only, Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein!
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, the king of the jousting tournament, Mr. James O'Reilly.
How are you doing?
I am doing. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. Now we are once again at episode 20, so it is time for Jim's Flick You Missed, where we go to a movie that Jim saw in theaters that I missed around the period of the previous 9 movies that we have done here on the podcast. So Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching a movie that, in my book, holds the record for the most just incredibly unhinged decisions. And somehow all of them kind of tie together to work. So we're watching 2001's A Knight's Tale.
That is right. The medieval classic, A Knight's Tale, written, directed by Brian Helgeland. I probably butchered the pronouncing of that last name. And starring, rest in peace, Heath Ledger, Mark Addy, and Rufus Sewell. Now, Jim, it's funny that you say that this is one of the most unhinged movies that have made some very wild decisions, but they manage to coalesce and kind of work in this movie. Whereas, a movie that we just did recently, Planet of the Apes, also seemed very unhinged, but they were not able to coalesce to get themselves to work. So it's going to be interesting to now look at the inverse of that and look at a movie where they also made insane choices, but all of the insane choices really give this movie some, like, I'm trying to think of the word that I'm looking for here. Like, because I don't want to say it's tongue in cheek, but like it's charming, the insane ideas
Yeah,
that it puts forth in this movie.
I'll tell you right now what the difference between it and Planet of the Apes is.
Okay.
A Knight's Tale is fun. It's just
That is,
really
yeah,
fun, you know?
that is true. A Knight's Tale, definitely much more enjoyable and much prettier to look at. This movie is not like a dour, drab, weird gothic painting that was Planet of the Apes. This movie is vibrant and fun to look at. Now, I know you always get excited when it turns up. Jim, we've once again got the DVD. We can go to the sweet blurb on the back.
Let's go.
Here we go. Let's see just what kind of logline they've penned here on the back of A Knight's Tale. Heath Ledger stars as William Thatcher, a peasant squire who breaks all the rules when he passes himself off as a nobleman and takes the jousting world by storm. The only thing standing between William and his dream of becoming the world champion is bad boy Count Adamar. When the two rivals go lance to lance at the world's finals to determine who will be named the ultimate champion, you'd better arm yourself and hang on tight for the thrill ride of your life.
Yeah, I like that they called Count Adamar a bad boy. I think that's pretty
No,
funny.
they made it sound like he's just like Like he's in like a boy band, like, oh, bad boy in the boy band. We got Count Adamar, drives all the girls crazy.
Yeah, it's very silly. Was there any like big puns on that one? I don't know if I heard them.
Not crazy. I think the biggest one is the better arm yourself and hang on tight, but not so much punny as it is just, I guess, play on words within the
Oh, I guess.
context
So
of what the
what are
jousting
you
is.
saying? Arm, like you would hang on to something with your arm? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess.
That seems like a bit of a stretch. I don't know.
Uh, it's yeah, not as pun filled. I did like the Lance to Lance. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's
Ooh, yeah. I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, it's that's a very absurd log line, but still pretty to the point there. That is
Yeah,
pretty
they played it pretty straight. I was maybe
yeah.
expecting it to be a little sillier than it actually was.
Yeah, no, they played it pretty right down the line on that one. So Knight's Tale, they didn't get our funny side up guy back. I'm waiting for him to make his return to the DVD cover. I'm sure he's out
Yeah.
there somewhere down the pipeline, but unfortunately tonight,
I don't think we've seen our last funny side up. I think there's more out there.
let's hope not. But yeah, so
So you didn't see this movie in theaters at all
yes,
ever.
I did not see this movie in theaters. I don't think I came across this movie until well into its DVD lifespan at that point. I think it probably a few years after this that I found the majesty of A Knight's Tale.
Wow. Yeah, no, I so my memory of this movie, I went with my dad and my younger sister. Um I who knows what weekend it was, but yeah, I went with my dad and my younger sister, and we all loved it when we saw it in theaters. It was from the jump. This movie had me. It just hooked me, dude.
Yeah, no, this is a good movie that really ropes you in quick with what it's really going to be about. And it's one of those movies that you're either in or you're out. And there's no settling in right off the bat. You're either in or you're like, this is gonna be rough.
I was definitely in, and we'll definitely get more into that later.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people overall were in though. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Not sure
no.
if this
When
was
this
as popular with everyone as it was with me.
no, yeah, when this came out in theaters, this famously I don't I mean we're gonna get into it right now, but I don't know if we could flat out call it a box office bomb, but it was definitely not a box office success. So Jim, roll that cue in. Let's dive into those box office numbers.
Numbers, dates, and numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right, so A Knight's Tale opens May 11th through May 13th of 2001. And we've talked about this weekend before because it is the second weekend of a movie we've done previously, Mummy Returns. Um if you remember from the Mummy Returns episode, The Mummy Returns is number 1 this weekend. It makes $33.7 million,
Or a
which
Knight's Tale.
means A Knight's Tale comes in second. There will be no run at number 1.
Such a shame, A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, so A Knight's Tale opens with 16.5 million in second
Oh
place.
boy, howdy, Jim.
That's pretty
Not
rough,
only
yeah.
not only is that a tough opening weekend, that's on our list is a tough opening weekend. That is the lowest opening weekend of any of the movies that we've done so far. It now sits in the last place, beating the previous last place winner of Shallow Hal that sat at the bottom with 22.5.
Yeah, and I mean that's right. That's a rough number. That's a really rough number. And I
Yeah.
mean it's against a $65 million budget. So this isn't like a big budget movie, but you already got to be feeling real shaky about this coming out with that opening weekend if you're
Well,
the executives behind this.
especially that opening weekend and not because like it'd be one thing if you got that 16.5 and you opened at number one at least because then it was like all right nothing else was doing well that weekend but you just got sent to the cleaners with how popular The Mummy Returns is at that point, that you realize very quickly like, oh no, a lot of the business that we might have gotten for people in on this movie are all going and seeing The Mummy.
Yeah, and they're not even competing with anything else that's really opening this weekend, right? So like The Mummy, like I said, is in its second weekend. Third place is Bridget Jones's Diary, but it's in its fifth weekend, so it's only pulling in like 4.4 million. Along Came a Spider, which I think is based on a James Patterson book, is in its
Yes,
sixth
it
weekend. It
is.
pulls in 3 million or so. So like this is even probably a bit of a pity fuck for the second place spot for A Knight's Tale. You know what I mean? Like they're just like there's nothing out there that could really like if there was anything at all, it probably comes in third. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just to put it into more perspective, it's opening weekend. The next highest movie that opens this weekend on Box Office Mojo's list is all the way down in 36th. The Trumpet of the Swan with $102,000.
Whatever the fuck that movie is.
Yeah, so I mean like I said, second place, but not really a strong second place, and people have got to be pretty upset with this opening.
Yeah, well, you have
Uh
to imagine too, at the time, nobody really, because like Heath Ledger's not Heath Ledger yet. Like he's on the up and there's really no stars in this movie at this time.
no, and it's interesting you say that because there's a lot of people who go on to
To be,
become like
yeah,
way more famous. I mean,
yeah,
Mark Addy, doesn't he play Robert Baratheon? I never
yeah.
really watched Game
Well,
of
yeah,
Thrones.
yeah. I mean, we could dive into our that guys later, but yeah, a plethora of that guys in this movie that would go on to become huge stars. But at this point in time in 2001, all of these guys are just cutting their teeth right now.
Yeah. And so, all right, so you're right. Then there's not really a driving force behind this. Like Heath Ledger is kind of like more of a teen star than anything, right?
Yeah, because like I think at this point he had done 10 Things I Hate About You.
And that's the only thing I can think
And that,
of off
yeah,
the
that's
top
the
of
only
my
thing I
head.
could think of at this point. So like this is really a testing ground with no bankable talent in it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's showing, right? So we get to week
Yeah.
two. Another. Okay. So remember last week when we said there was no competition?
Yeah. Well, now there'll be competition because
It's right. And so
Shrek
this is
comes out
another
that
movie
weekend,
we've
right?
talked about, right? Where A Knight's Tale is going to come in third, but you talked about how there's people who would see A Knight's Tale going to see The Mummy Returns. How many people, like, you know what I mean? If I didn't go see A Knight's Tale in those first couple of weekends, maybe I just go see Shrek instead. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's like a real audience that Shrek is pulling away from you, and it shows, right? So A Knight's Tale comes in third this week with 10.4 million, way behind Shrek, which gets 42.3, and still pretty sizably behind The Mummy with what comes in with 20.4.
That is a really unfortunate time for this movie to be released, sandwiched between two like juggernauts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean, so right, so week 4 of A Knight's Tale, or sorry, week 3 of A Knight's Tale, Pearl Harbor comes out. So that's another big like summer movie. Obviously everybody knows now that it's kind of trash, but back then like people were excited to see it.
And back then,
Uh,
Michael Bay's coming off of Armageddon, so like the hype is there.
right. So A Knight's Tale this week is down in fourth. It has a 30.2% drop to get down to 7.2 million. And like the drops so far aren't terrible, but part of the reason that that's true is because it started at such a low point. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like yeah, like
Like,
the drops aren't bad because it started under 20 mil. Like,
yeah, and I mean, you can see we might end up getting our fastest movie out of the top 10 here. So,
oh
week
boy.
4, it comes in 7th place with 3.4 million. Week 5, it's down to ninth with 1.7 million. And then yeah, finally week 6, it's dropped down to 12th place, pulling in a measly 715,000.
Well, Jim, it managed to stay in for 5 weeks, so it's not the lowest. It joins a plethora of mediocre movies that have spent 5 weeks. The Rugrats movie, Pokemon, Scary Movie, Jurassic Park 3, X-Men, and Planet of the Apes. So really terrible company to be keeping.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not good. And then all right, so then just really quickly some totals. Domestic pulls in 56.5 million. So it doesn't even make back its budget domestically.
Jesus.
International, it pulls in 60.9 million for a worldwide total of 117.5 million.
Oh my Lord. Dear God. Yeah, so a Knight's Tale really, I guess is we might be talking about our first cult classic possibly on this pod, Jim. Because 117.5 worldwide is once again good enough for a Knight's Tale to take the last place on our charts here. It comes in dead last, beating out the previous worst worldwide grossing movie of the Rugrats movie with 140.9.
Yeah, it's a unmitigated failure, dude. It's really bad. I
Yeah, that's
actually
that's that's rough right there.
I have a quote from one of the executives who
It's like,
greenlit the movie.
Jim, you're only
They
gonna get me once with that.
No, dude, it's from like Variety.
Yeah,
It's from
okay. All right. Yeah, let's see what
I
variety had to
got it
say.
here. Variety from like July of 2001 is a
Uh,
quote right
all
here.
right, all right. Cue it up. Let's see what they had to say.
His spirit is gone, but his stench remains.
Fucking
Yeah, they didn't
variety.
like it. They were very unhappy with how this turned out.
What is variety now? How dare they?
That wasn't
Uh,
actually written in Variety, in case you weren't sure.
Wait, you're telling me Mark Addy didn't write for Variety in the
No,
year 2001?
no, he did not.
But yeah, so we talked about it briefly before. We'll bring it up again now, but a plethora of that guys in this movie. Guys that would go on to become huge stars later on. Obviously, Heath Ledger is going to go on to do the Joker and a bunch of
Yeah,
other really great roles. We get Paul Bettany, who's going to go on to become Vision in the MCU.
right. Paul Bettany, who steals the fucking show, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, steals the show in this, but could absolutely watching this movie back then, you would take a look at that guy and be like, that guy's a star. Like he's gonna do some great things. Mark Addy, well, yeah, you mentioned before Robert Baratheon on Game of Thrones. He
Yeah.
was also on one of my favorite sitcoms. I think it was called Still Standing. He was just like one of those. It was like one of those mid 2000s sitcoms where he was just one of those like affable dads.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, you
Wait,
remember that?
he's not British on that show, is he?
No, no, he's very American on that show, but he is
Wow, but
British.
he's British in real life.
Yeah.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Cause I know what sitcom you're talking about, and I never in a million years put together that those were the same people, because he's
Yeah.
just like super not British in that
I know.
show.
Yeah, no, he's like a Midwestern dad, I think it is, right? Like or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. That seriously just blew my mind, dude. Really
So
blew my
funny.
mind.
Who else? I always pronounce this dude's name wrong. Alan like
Alan Tudyk?
Tudyk. Yeah.
I
Like
know
I
who you're
sound like I'm
talking
saying
about.
two dicks, but like it's how it looks like it's pronounced, Tudyk. Yeah. He's a huge I wouldn't say as big as the rest of them, but he's done a lot of things. Firefly comes to mind. He does a bunch of voice work for Disney. So he also has gone on to be a big
Yeah,
actor in a lot
he's
of stuff.
also in, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Resident Alien.
It keeps showing up on my Netflix right now. I keep
Dude,
seeing the thumbnail for it,
you should
and
watch it. Alan
yeah,
Tudyk
yeah,
is
okay.
hilarious in
I
it.
mean, I do
Yeah,
love
he's
Alan
really
Tudyk,
good
but
in it.
every time I see that thumbnail, I'm like, yeah, okay, Netflix, good try.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's real stupid, but I liked it.
Yeah,
I
no, there's
liked
a
it a
but
lot.
yeah. And who else? The bad guy, Rufus Sewell.
Yeah, you
Was it
remember what movie he's from, right?
well, the one I know him from the most is The Holiday.
Okay, that's
Is a
not what
rom
I was
is a
thinking. I was
rom-com. What one were
do
you
you
thinking?
do you remember is it called Dark City? Do you remember that one we watched?
Oh, yeah.
He's like the lead character in that, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, that movie was fucking weird.
I did.
Yeah, I
That
remember
movie
I
was like
remember when we watched that.
I didn't really like it, and it's heralded as a sci-fi classic, I believe. Like a lot of people say that's one of the best sci-fi movies of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and I
And
remember I wasn't that big of a fan of it either when we watched it.
I could never get past like the psychic battling where they're just like pointing their hands at each other and nothing's happening except some like synthesizer music. It just
Yeah.
like I couldn't really
It's
take
like
it seriously. I don't
it's
know.
like when Cartman fakes the telekinetic powers. They're
Yes.
just like no 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 no
Yes.
no no. No.
Maybe that's what it is, just that South Park made fun of it first. So when I saw it, I was like, this is lame. But I just didn't really like it.
Yeah. And then last one, the prince that shows up, Prince Edward, I think he is throughout the movie.
Oh
That
yeah.
guy was in Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil movie.
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That sounds right.
yeah. So yeah, just a smattering of young talent that would go on to do so many things. And it's funny that they never tried to get like at least one bankable actor in this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I
really
almost got
know
to give
what the
him
thinking
credit.
behind that is. I think though, like that's definitely a big reason why it's such a cult classic. Oh, we missed one by the way.
Yeah, who else?
I am pretty sure that the lady who plays the armorer, I think her name's Laura Fraser. Fraser?
Okay.
I am pretty sure that she's in Breaking Bad. I'm just gonna go back and double check it really fast.
He is. I'm looking at it right now. She was
She
in Breaking
plays like
Bad and its spin-off
the
Better
in the
Call
last
Saul.
season. She plays like the corporate lady.
Interesting. It's been a long time since I watched Breaking Bad when it was on the air, so it's been a long time since I've
Yeah, I forget what the name of that company is, but you know what I'm talking about. In the end of
yeah,
Breaking
no,
Bad,
no,
he starts
I
working
do
for more
know.
like a corporation, and she's like his handler, kind of.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. And then do you remember the scene in this movie with the priest where he's like, "You dare do this affront to God to her?"
Yeah, yeah.
He played Mace Tyrell in Game of Thrones. He was also in Game
Oh,
of Thrones.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he was another that guy that I'm like watching. I'm like, I've seen that guy in something. And then it
Yeah, so
took
there's like a million of them is the
yeah,
point.
yeah. So this movie just chock full of character actors, not one bankable star, at least yet, not one bankable star, because a few of these guys would go on to be bankable stars. But at this
Yeah,
point in
and
time,
I think that's part of what makes it such a cult classic though, is that you get all these really talented people making like a really fun movie. And I don't know, I feel like they're having a lot of fun while they're making it just from watching it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And they're all these super talented people, so it's like, maybe that didn't get people in the seats, but I think it did make a really good movie, you know?
absolutely. Yeah, and this I think this movie has definitely found its calling through home video release and being on streaming and stuff that you see a lot more people have an appreciation for it today than did back then.
This would have been an interesting one to look up the DVD sales, because I bet you they ended up pretty happy with where they landed.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. I remember, at least I remember having this movie way back in the day when it first came out. And right around when it got really big that you can have a TV in the headrest of your car, right around when that became like a thing.
Yeah,
And I remember burning out this movie in the car on long car rides watching A Knight's Tale.
yeah. Yeah, I think I might start doing that going forward. I might look up the DVD sales for
DVD
things because
sales.
it's
Yeah, it's an
it's
interesting
like
thing
an
to look at because that's a whole other
it's an
story
interesting
in
thing to look at
regards
because
to
it
its
doesn't
box
exist
office.
anymore.
I mean, DVD sales still exist. I still buy movies. I mean, they're granted not as big
Well,
as it was, but there's still a healthy forum of physical media out there. It's just not.
no, yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't exist. It exists, but I like if you. That's why I think it would be interesting to look at the sales from back then because they're like really
The
not
heyday.
even remotely close. Like they're like
Yeah.
they've really sharply just dove off a cliff.
Yeah, well, you got at least back then we're talking about like the heyday of, physical media releases too.
Yeah, and
So
that's also why movies like this used to get made because
yeah,
because
because
they
they were like,
always
well,
had something to fall back on.
yeah, because they're like, we're gonna make the box office revenue, and then we have all the ancillary revenue we'll make from, home video sales and everything like that. and selling the rights to play on like cable at like 11 p.m.
Yeah. But so, all right. So I have one piece of trivia for this movie, and it's not
Oh,
quite trivia,
all
but
right.
more just kind of like a tip of the hat to the people who make movies because they never fail to amaze me.
Right. Let's hear it.
So when they were jousting, you saw some pretty cool effects, right? Like the lances are like really dynamic. They like hit
Yeah.
things and they
And the way they like
explode.
explode. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know how they got that effect?
I do because I think we looked at the same trivia thing.
Yeah,
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 that we were reading about it.
yeah.
And
It's
I
just so cool. So yeah, go
yeah.
ahead, tell everybody.
No, I'm gonna let you tell everybody because I don't know. I know that I read this thing also with you when I was watching this movie, but I don't remember every little detail about it. So if you've
Okay.
got a
I mean,
fresher,
there's not
I don't need to mess it up.
yeah, I don't have a ton of details about it. I just think it's amazing. So the way they got that effect, that really like amazing explosive effect on the lances, which is part of what I remember about this movie forever, right? They took the lances and they hollowed them out and then they filled them with uncooked like linguine.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like some kind of noodle or pasta, so that when the hollow lance hit, it was easier for it to split open, and then spaghetti would come flying out.
Which is like the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, and it looks so legit.
Do you think they collected it at the end of shooting and then they made it for like the lunch spread?
I'm gonna guess no.
What a waste.
But that wouldn't be the worst idea, I guess. I don't know.
They're like, we got pasta today. Where's this from? I taste there's a little dirt taste in this linguine.
Yeah, yeah,
That is funny. That's such like a clever way to create something visually without like that's one of those things is something that I would mention feels lost in the CGI era of making movies now. Because all that they would just be like, worry about it in post and we'll just create that with CGI, but it would just look so much less dynamic than
yeah.
such a simple fix of just hollow it out and put uncooked pasta in it.
I'm not so sure that it would look so much less dynamic. I'm not 100% sold on that, but I still think it's amazing that they were able to get the effect that they got out of that idea, you know?
Well, I
Like
guess we
the
need a Knight's
people who
Tale
make
too.
movies just have this MacGyver-like ingenuity that I will never understand fully.
Well, we need it back. We have to go back. Yeah. But all right.
But so,
We've
all right, did I steal your piece of trivia? Did you have anything
no,
else
no,
or
I wasn't gonna give any trivia. I just remember reading about that when I was, also reading about this movie before, we were coming on to talk about it. And I was just like, oh, that's hilarious. But I wasn't gonna bring it up. But I am happy that you brought it up because
yeah.
that is some really good movie magic. And I do think that is something that we could, mention from time to time when we get to those great movies that really use every arsenal in their disposal to create these great movie moments without the use of CGI.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. But all right, Jim, you picked the movie. We're diving into A Knight's Tale. Let me hear it. What worked? What didn't work? What did you like about A Knight's Tale?
So the biggest and broadest thing I can think to say about it that I liked is just how unique it is. I don't really know that I've seen anything exactly like it, like before or since. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's this medieval movie that, when you really think about it, is basically just a boxing movie. It's like you get the like the rounds in the corner with Mark Addy like giving them strategy and like pep talks, and then they go out there and they smash into each other again. So it's like it's really just a boxing movie. Um, but because it's this modern kind of boxing movie set in the medieval times, they just lean into that and they put so many anachronisms in it that are just all my favorite thing in the world. I mean, so like you said it earlier, this movie kicks off really fast, right? You basically get exactly what's going to happen in this movie before the clock hits 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
He's going to pretend to be a knight and he's going to go jousting. And that's really all the movie is, right? And so once you get that, what does this movie do? It hits you with a "We will rock you" intro. in the middle of medieval times. And just so you're sure that they're doing this on purpose and that the anachronisms matter, they don't just play "We Will Rock You" over this like into your ears. They have the crowd like stomping and clapping "We Will Rock You" and singing "We Will Rock You," and like the guard is like holding his spear singing "We Will Rock You," and like now we're like 5 minutes in. You know what I mean? So like, and then I mean, so like there's all these like crazy soundtrack things that are going on, right? So in this movie, you have the "We Will Rock You" intro. Then before 15 minutes, you get a training montage set to Low Rider. Like, which
Yeah,
is just
it's absolutely insane the needle drops in this movie. Like I want
yeah,
this
Low
this
Rider is
feels
like
like a precursor to like James Gunn with the Guardians of the Galaxy, where like needle drops become such a
yeah.
almost like its own part of the movie. And this is the
Yeah,
first
and
time we've ever really seen something like that.
I don't know if you remember, Low Rider was like a really popular movie song back in like the late 90s and early 2000s. Like
Oh, I
lots of
remember.
movies played Low Rider.
Yeah.
So just like such a funny one. They played Taking Care of Business in a sword fight montage. They
I think
played
my favorite one is when they go to like the dance
yeah.
and they're just like and just follow along with me, and then all of a sudden it just morphs into Golden Years by David Bowie. Like and I
Yeah,
die every
exactly.
time. And like
Exactly.
they lose the uptight like old school style of like the medieval dances, and then it's almost
Right.
just like two kids at like a high school dance just like dancing around having a great time,
Right.
and Rufus Sewell's in the corner just like glaring like
Yeah, like this movie says people didn't dance like this in medieval times, but I don't care and you don't care. You just want to see people dance to Bowie, so let's do that. You know, like
think
and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Let's do
yeah
that. I'm down.
I think my other favorite one that this is a one that's overused so much in movies is the boys
Uh,
are back in town
yeah,
one.
the boys are back in town.
Like it was like they
And
just
they're
couldn't help themselves. And
yeah,
it's so much funnier too because it comes literally right after the huge flashback reveal of like William's hung-ups of like leaving his father and haven't seen him for like 13 years and doesn't know if he's
right.
alive or dead.
It gets
And then we
heavy
come
and
back to the
emotional.
present and we just hit Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, it gets
Oh,
heavy and
so weird.
emotional, and now the movie needs it to be fun again. So Thin Lizzy starts playing. Like it's
Yeah, dude,
it's just so
it's so insane. From like Sly
it's
and the Family Stone is in there. Like
yes.
there's
And these are definitely all part of the unhinged decisions I was mentioning. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
these are but they all work. They're all insane, but they are all exactly what I want to happen when they happen. And they take me on the ride, dude. It's so great.
I would have loved to have been in the room when Brian Helgeland pitched this movie to executives. Like, how did he convince anyone
Yeah.
to make the? He's all right. So it's a medieval jousting movie. I got Heath Ledger lined up. You know, he's the new pretty boy in town. So we're gonna go and we're gonna make this movie. They're like, okay, okay. It's like, well, what are we going for here? And it's like, well, I'm basically making a sports movie. And you're like, but it's medieval. And it's like, yeah, but think of it like it's just like any sports movie you've ever seen. Like it's
Yeah.
Hoosiers.
Think of it like it's Rocky.
Yeah, it's right. Or
That's
it's a Hoosier, and name a sports movie, and that's what it is. And they're like, okay, okay. And he's like, and to really settle it in to like how like people would get into this, we're just gonna have classic rock songs throughout the entire movie. And you're like, well, what? You're like, well, it'll just work. Like just trust me. And
yeah,
there's like,
yeah.
okay, I guess like,
Yeah. And I mean, dude, where the Nike swish on his
yeah, yeah,
armor.
it's a lot of art. And
Did
she's
you
like,
notice like at some points in the movie they look like modern people but in the Middle Ages, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like the Jocelyn and her handler like most of the time they're on screen, they
yeah,
look like they're on the cover of Vogue. Like
dude,
they have like this crazy hair that's like
her
absolutely
hair
modern.
gets more and more modern as the movie goes on. Like when you first
Yeah.
meet her, she's got like the shawl on, like she's walking in the church.
Yep.
And then like
Yep.
you see her at the party and she's got like it's almost like she like put coloring in it, like it's almost like different, like there's like a shade of a different color in there with it. You're like,
Yes,
okay,
there's
she's
like a
just
purple
dyeing her
to it.
hair.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, she's just rocking this like peacock hairstyle. And you're like, dude, this movie's out of control. Like,
It's amazing. Or like when they're at the joust and she's talking to Count Adamar the first time, everybody's dressed like it's the Middle Ages, and then she's literally wearing like the sharpest blazer I've ever seen. She looks like she's in The Devil Wears Prada, dude. Like it's
yeah,
and
it's
still it works. I don't know how, but it works. I love
yeah,
it. Like it's
yeah, it's one of those things that it definitely helps that this that Brian had such a vision in his head, stuck to it, just was able to fully realize it in a manner that he knew we would be able to follow along with and that it would work. And it absolutely does because every portion of this movie, like there's never a moment where I feel like I'm taken out of the movie by any of these choices.
yeah, and it like I guess the way I might describe it, right, is that any of them individually probably makes me go, "What the fuck is this movie?" Like I'm not watching this anymore. This is stupid. But
Yeah.
somehow when you do all of them together, it just like becomes the movie's identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it knows exactly what it is and it just like plays on it so well.
It had a flavor and it knew how to capitalize and utilize that flavor. And you're along for the ride from the get-go. And I think it helps that this movie is just effortlessly enjoyable. Because like who doesn't love a sports movie? Sports movies just go down easy. And he basically just took the stock sports movie and just applied it to medieval jousting. And it
Yeah.
works perfectly.
Yeah, and
It's
the villain is really what drives it home too, because by the time you get to the end of that movie, I want to see Count Adamar on his back so bad. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I want to see him get knocked off that horse and lose. And then they like, you know, they build it up and they give that to you, and every good sports movie does that.
they really give you every sports cliche you could possibly hope for. Like the training montage in the beginning,
Yeah,
set the
to
low rider like you were talking
Lowrider.
about, is so good. It's
Yeah, and but I'm glad you brought that one up because it has another part that I really like, which is the relationship between those five people, like Heath Ledger, Mark Aaron, Addy, Alan Tudyk, Paul Bettany, and what was her name, Laura Fraser. Like the five of them have this like really awesome camaraderie throughout it, and like even in that training montage where you know they're like giving each other shit, and you know they like he's got to do it again, so he's like giddy up ponies, you know, and they
yeah,
have to like pull him on the boat. Like so they just have like a good relationship that, like I said earlier, makes it feel like they had so much fun doing this, and I feel like I'm part of the gang, you know.
yeah, they really help you feel like you're coming along for the ride, and it does help that Heath Ledger is very endearing in this role. You want to root for him. You're on his side from the get-go, right from that first joust that he wins, all the way up until he becomes the tournament champion and he changes his stars. You're along for every second with this guy, and I think another thing to this movie's credit is that it doesn't try to do too much or to be too complex. It's this simple journey of a kid who wants to be more than he is and has this goal inside of him that he knows he can achieve. And you're just with him throughout the entire thing. It's perfect sports cliche right there, but like we've talked about so many times with cliches is that when you work them correctly, they work so well. Like they're
Yeah,
tropes for a reason.
they're
Yeah,
cliche for a reason, exactly. Like people have been saying them forever because they actually mean something, you know? Like
because like when you do them well, they make or break a movie. Like when you
yeah,
do
the
it
only
when you can't do it well, it a cliche feels bad. But when you do it well, a cliche is a beautiful thing in a movie.
yeah, and let's talk a little bit about what doing a cliche well means, right? So you're saying that this movie is pretty simple and straightforward, and I agree with you to an extent, right? But I have of some notes here about this
Uh,
movie and its theme that I want to go through. So for me, personally, what makes you go through it, like when you do a cliche well, part of what you're doing well is you're layering, right? So like your theme of this movie, like you said, is about like no matter what you're born to, like you have the agency to change your outcome. You know what I mean? Like you can get good enough at something, you can do something to better yourself. And who your parents are or who people think you are doesn't matter nearly as much as the things you do in life, right? So like right off the bat, William, obvious, right? Like he's literally doing that. He's going from being a peasant to being a knight, and that's not allowed. And he's literally born outside of that, and he makes his way into that throughout this movie. But not just William is experiencing that same thing in this movie. So like Jocelyn is going through the same thing that he is in a different way. She's this lady, you know what I mean? She's born to be the girl who sits next to Adamar and speaks when spoken to. You know what I mean? That's her lot in life. And she hates it. She doesn't want anything to do with it. You know what I mean? And like she's trying to work her way through that. The armorer lady, same idea. She's really good at building armor, but nobody will give her a shot because she's a woman. You know what I mean? And like she's got to figure out a way for her skills to get her where she needs to be.
Get Nike
Prince
on the phone.
Edward. What's that?
She's just got to get Nike on the phone.
Yeah, she's got to get Nike on the phone. So then Prince Edward, right? He's the exact same person as William, but on the opposite side of the spectrum. He's born too high, but so nobody will compete with him. And all he wants is for somebody to give him a fair shake so he can prove what he can actually do. You know what I mean? And then like William giving him that is part of what pulls William up at the end into being a knight, because he's earned this guy's respect. That like, and then like we said with Adamar, amazing villain is the exact opposite. All he wants is the status quo. He wants Jocelyn to sit next to him and speak when spoken to. He wants to, give up his honor to appease the king so that he can get ahead in life. You know what I mean? He wants William to stay at the bottom. And so like, I don't know, there's just so many layers to that theme you're talking about, and all of it blends together and like plays off of each other and pushes and pulls. And like, so to me, that's how you do a cliche well. You take it to its depths and you make it really like a core of everything that's going on.
Well, that's just, not for us to dive too thick into the weeds of our nerdom and screenwriting, but that's just good screenwriting. You want your main
Yeah.
character, if that's his thematic journey that he's going to go through, then you want everyone that he's going to be coming across with to be some type of shade or layer to that is either an inverse of him, it's a look and a reflection, it's who he could become if he doesn't prepare himself, or like watch out for the dangers of what he's journeying in. So everything needs to be a reflection of that. And Brian Helgeland does such a good job of sprinkling it and layering it all around this movie, so that not only is William going through that thematical journey, but he's affecting the people around him that are also experiencing this through their connection with him. Because not that Jocelyn isn't also going through that, but is definitely feel like it gets a lot of push and pull once she meets him and finds somebody of that similar intellect that's going to bring that out of her. She just
Right.
as easily, if she didn't meet Will, could have suffered like silently through this life that she's expected to live. But
Yeah.
through meeting him, suddenly he's exploding all of this out into the world that they're all now reacting around. It's just really good screenwriting.
Yeah, and like the best part about it for me is that like, the people outside of William, all that stuff is there, but it's so subtle. You know what I mean? Like it's underpinning what's happening with him and Jocelyn, but it's not what you're thinking about while it's happening with him and Jocelyn. You know what I mean? Like you're into the love story of it. There's just this like thing under the surface that, even if you don't notice it, you feel it and it makes it better.
Absolutely. And then you could and all of his, side characters that go on the journey with him that are just, comic relief throughout the movie. You see how just by being around Will, it's changed them. Like we meet Paul Bettany in the beginning, and he's just this dude literally walking naked because he's got such a gambling problem that he gets the shirt taken off of his back. And by the end, he's like
Geoffrey
talking
Chaucer,
down.
by the way.
Yeah, the Canterbury
Famous
Tales
author.
himself. That's another fun. Like that's so funny that he was like, I'm gonna throw that in there.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's another piece of trivia, by the way. I read
okay.
somewhere that part of the way he came up with the concept for this movie was, I guess there was like a period in Geoffrey Chaucer's life where he like went missing for a few years, and
Jesus.
like his part of the concept of this movie was like, what could Jeffrey Chaucer have been doing during those couple of years that he went missing? So
What a
he's like down on his luck and meets this like cool, like interesting character who does something so unprecedented. So that's
brings him
another
back
like
to the
interesting
top.
thing I read.
Then, and if you go off of that, then that means that Paul Bettany is another shade of learning the exact same theme that Will is going through, because now by the end of, he's a down on his luck guy who just disappeared from his regular life, searching
Yeah.
for purpose, and he finds it in this guy willing to change the stars to become this tournament champion. And by the end of it, he's talking down a mob from rioting and like throwing stones at this poor kid. You see him
Yeah.
like crying when like he's telling the story at the end. Like yeah, the movie's just is just very well written, and it does what perfect movies are able to do in the sense of how they blend what's just a fun, enjoyable, entertaining movie that has that layer of subtext underneath it. I feel like, we see a lot in movies today where there feels like there's always this huge divisive nature of every movie that comes out, because you get this push and pull of people feeling that the message of what you're trying to get across in the movie
Yeah.
is front and center and feels like it's too preachy. Where a lot of these movies that we see back in the 90s and early 2000s first and foremost wanted to be a fun, entertaining, high concept movie, but were layered underneath with just this great layer of subtext about, an element or thematical, idea that they wanted you to come away with. And I
Yeah.
wonder where down the line that we started to see that like gap bridge and it kind of switch.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I just like, all I can say for sure is that Brian Helgeland's like a really incredible filmmaker, and
Yes, he
like,
absolutely. I
he
hope
got
you have him
together with a
lined
bunch
up.
of other incredible filmmakers and they made an incredible film.
Yes,
you,
that
you
first and
know?
foremost. I hope you have him lined up for the IMDb deep dive, because
Yeah, I think he might be the only person we feature tonight, by the way. I think we're just gonna
yeah,
do the one.
he
But
is great. But yeah, because it seems like every time I can't go watch a movie today without somebody on a soapbox, crying that it's divisive or it's woke or it's this or it's
well,
that.
yeah,
Not even
but like,
talking about like the movie itself, just what the movie represents to its agenda. And I'm
exactly.
always like, every movie has an agenda. You've never seen a movie in your life where the writer didn't have an agenda. They're trying to entertain you, but they also have a point to be made. It could be something as simple as like money is the root of all evil in a comedy movie, or something like you can change your stars if you work really hard at it. But that's an agenda. Like it might not be this like political agenda that seems to permeate into everything that comes out today, but
Yeah.
every movie you've ever seen has an agenda. So I don't know where this like divide started
Yeah.
coming.
I don't want to be too much of a philosopher on you right now, but I think that like,
Philosophize for me, my friend.
with the internet, I think people have so much information at the tips of their fingers and so many people who are willing to agree with them that, like, it doesn't matter what you believe, by the way. You can find at least a million people who agree with you on the internet, right? Like, there's like so many people on the internet. Um, so like, I just think that back then people weren't so sure about what they thought. You know what I mean? Like today people are convinced that they're right. Like they're like, "No, dude, I've been on the internet. I know everything." Like this movie
Sure.
has nothing to tell me. So if it says something I don't like it because I know everything.
Yeah.
Um Whereas, like, I don't know, back then, like, people didn't take all that shit so seriously. I feel like you just went to see a movie and, like, you left and you were like, yeah, that's something I can get behind. People can change their stars, okay?
Yeah.
Like, it actually meant something to you. Whereas nowadays, I feel like people are kind of jaded too.
That could be definitely, yeah, it definitely doesn't help that you can see something or ingest something, and within 2 seconds, even while you're ingesting it, you can be on your phone watching videos about people talking about it or
Right. Or
comments
like
about like,
looking up, right, like looking up posts about it and seeing what
yeah.
people say, or
So
like
like
going on
as
Twitter and like,
Yeah, so you could like go in blind to a movie, kind of be enjoying it. I mean, look up your phone to see what other people see all of this outcry and divisiveness, and then suddenly you're, like a gullible sponge, and you start parrying it too, and you're like, yeah, fuck that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like you're
So
an
I
idiot.
don't know, but I don't want to get too far down this road because I like
Yeah.
this is a fun movie. I don't know how the hell we started talking about this.
Well, yeah, we did go off
But
on a little bit of a tangent
but yeah,
there, but
was
yeah,
so
no,
was
go
there
on.
anything you didn't like about this? Did you have anything?
Um, I do think it's a smackerel too long.
Yeah, probably a bit.
Yeah,
I'm with you on
and
that. It kind
that's
of
not
drags a little bit here and
it's not
there.
the worst thing in the world, because this is still a fun and enjoyable movie. So it's not the worst thing in the world that it's too long, but it does feel like there's like when there's a significant portion of it, like once Adamar like takes himself out of the jousts because he has to go back to like command his foreign
Yeah,
legions, that the movie
that
kind of halts because now all of a sudden our antagonistic presence that's threading over William in his journey is suddenly just removed.
right, and
And
they're definitely trying to give it a little space for the love story, but you're right. It's like that
I
it
feel
feels like that sequence where Adamar is at war and William is winning all of the tournaments, but only because he can't fight Adamar. It feels like that one was real long. Yeah.
yeah, and it drags because it doesn't have that bite with it because now we've lost our antagonistic presence that's hovering over him. And I feel like you still could have worked on the love story while having
Yeah.
him there.
What I will
Because
say
he's a good
though,
opposing force to Will trying to gain the goal of getting the girl.
oh, absolutely, yeah. What I will say though, I do like that he left at least for a little bit because like I liked the fact that like William had gotten as good as he could get, and he just couldn't get his chance to prove himself. It's like Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. Like he's ready to fight the champ, dude, but the champ was ducking him. Like it's like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then like I also like that Adamar gets just as frustrated that he can't fight him. Honestly, also a lot like Rocky 3, because Rocky wants to fight Clubber Lang and Mick won't let him. He's like,
yeah. I died at the scene where Adamar is like at his in his war camp, and
yeah,
his like sidekick shows up and he's like, "I've got the jousting results,
right. He
sir,"
just
and like
wants the
he's just
tournament
reading all of
results.
the results, and he's just like, "Ulrich, Ulrich,
Yeah,
Ulrich," just like
yeah.
throws his knife down on it, like it's so silly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it
Also,
was a.
can
Go
we
ahead.
talk about for a second of how goddamn good that name is? Ulrich von Liechtenstein. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
pretty good.
perfect.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, and especially like it give like Paul Bettany really like lays it on thick in a couple of
Yeah,
parts.
he gives it such
Like,
gravitas. Like we played it in the intro,
yeah,
but
he's like the
Paul
Michael Buffer
Bettany,
of
yeah, yeah, Paul
like
Bettany is such a good. He's the best part of this movie by a
he
mile. Like
steals the
he's
show, dude.
easily my
That clip we played in the beginning is incredible. It's he's just like laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, but also like the way he interacts with everybody else too. Like his
Yep.
relationship with Alan Tudyk in the movie is so funny. Like
Absolutely.
when
Yeah.
Paul Bettany is teaching them how to dance, and he's like Watt doesn't lead because he leads like a girl, and Watt just decks him in the face and knocks him out
Yeah, and
cold.
then it cuts back and he's got like a thing in his nose like
Yeah, like it's so, and I love like and like they do such a good job of giving each one of them like little flourishes to have that individuality. Like it's so
yeah.
funny that Mark Addy is just kind of like a seamstress. Like they're doing that and he's just in the back just like stitching Ulrich
Yep.
like a
And
dress for the night.
that's where he gets his broken pieces of his heart to go through the thread of a needle line. But no, yeah, and that's part of why I'm more forgiving of the length because there is like a lot of depth and a lot of characters to focus on.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and it's fun. It never, even though like it does feel like it drags in that little portion. It's never boring or it's never like, oh, this is unwatchable.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of the times when we say this for some movies, when it's like, oh, what's one of the things you didn't like, and you're like, it could be shorter. Like that, it's basically a nitpick. We talk about
I
this
mean,
all
yeah,
the
if
times.
that's the only thing you could come up with, it means you probably liked it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a fun, enjoyable sports movie. I rouse up with the crowd whenever they want us to.
Yeah.
I'm always along for the journey. Like when Prince Edward shows up in Knights William, I was like punching my chair. I'm like, let's fucking go, baby.
Dude, it's so emotional. It's so great.
It's so rousing. And then like Jocelyn's not at the end, like jousting, and then he's like, she's here, and he shows up with her dad with his dad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing,
like,
dude.
it's
It's just it really and that's that
it's
ending it delivers, dude. It
yeah,
delivers.
screenwriting 101. Dude, I that cracks me up so much at the end too when he dives off of his horse to go kiss Jocelyn, and it has this really weird spin camera move where you could tell like the background is no longer like real with them like spinning for the kiss, but like the
Yeah,
fireworks going off. I'm like,
yeah.
what the fuck is happening?
Or what about the weird like Adamar gets knocked off of his horse and then they all take turns like standing over him from different directions doing the like you have been weighed,
You have
you
been
have been
weighed.
measured
You have been
and
measured.
found wanting.
Dude,
And
talk about
then
a great fucking line right there too. Like, you
yeah,
have been
yeah.
weighed, you have been
But
measured, you have been left wanting.
yeah. And so he experiences all of that in his head, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
like he just has
Because
a
then it cuts
vision.
back to right before he gets hit with the lance, and then he goes onto his back.
It's like all
Oh, it's
he's
so
thinking
good.
about in the moment between getting knocked off the horse and him falling is like these dudes ridiculing him in the same way that he ridiculed them. Like
Yes, exactly. Like it's all like he's just so projecting
he's yeah,
it.
he's just so insecure.
Yeah.
It's
But no,
so
so I'm gonna say straight out that my score may not match how much I've been talking about this, but I don't really have anything that I didn't like about it. It's just like I can't think of anything besides maybe 2 hours and 12 minutes was a bit much.
it's fair. And I mean, hey, it's you definitely feel the length at times. So it's a valid criticism there at times, even if we say it is a nitpick.
Yeah. So do we want to get into some deep dive?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to hear what else this legend in cinema, Brian Helgeland, has done for us. So yeah, let me hear that ping, Jim.
All right. So I want to do deep dive a little differently this week. Maybe not all this or that, but I want to try and take a little bit of a track of Brian Helgeland's career here for a second.
Okay.
We're gonna start with his writing credits, and we're probably gonna spend most of our time there because there's a lot more of them than directing credits.
Yeah, I remember that he was a bit right. I'm pretty sure A Knight's Tale is this his first movie that he's doing directing along with his writing?
We'll get into that. We'll get into
All
that.
right.
Um,
Surprises, surprises.
you could say maybe, I think. You could say maybe. But so to start, he really starts working in like the late 80s as a writer, pretty exclusively as a writer. And he starts out in like some horror movies. He does like Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Masters. He gets a shared screenplay credit.
Oh, isn't that your favorite one?
Um, no, I like Dream Warriors. That's Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Dream
I got my
Warriors is my
dreams
favorite
mixed
one.
up.
Yeah, no, I mean this is like a direct sequel to Dream Warriors. Like there's a lot of continuity, but 3 was better. Um, he does this movie called 976 Evil in '88, also that he gets a writing
What
credit
the
on,
fuck?
directed by Robert Englund, the guy who plays Freddy
Oh, yeah, the guy who plays Freddy
Krueger.
Krueger. Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting.
And then like there's a couple other horror things. He works on Friday the 13th, the series for it looks like the last season. He does some movie called Highway to Hell. Uh, and then we get to 1995. This is probably the first thing you've seen and heard of. He gets a screenplay credit, a shared screenplay credit with the Wachowskis, by the way,
Oh,
on the
interesting.
movie Assassins.
Oh, that's the Antonio Banderas Sylvester Stallone movie, right?
Absolutely, that's that one.
Dude,
Yeah.
the Wachowskis wrote that.
It's shared screenplay credit. I'd imagine they wrote it as a team, and then he got his own separate screenplay credit, Brian Helgeland.
Yeah. Wow, dude, what a movie.
Yeah.
That's a
And
fucking
so
movie.
that really gets us up to 1997. And this is why I wanted to change up IMDb deep dive this week, because 1997 is a really interesting year for Brian Helgeland. He gets 3 writing credits.
think one of them is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I bet you it is. Yeah. So I'm not going to start with that one. He
Forget.
gets a writing credit on Conspiracy Theory. Do you remember that
Oh,
movie?
yeah, Mel Gibson, Julia Roberts. We watched that,
Yes.
right? We watched that together, right? That movie
I
was,
think we might have. Yeah.
yeah,
But Conspiracy Theory, yeah, is
dude,
one
that
he gets
movie's
a writing credit
so
on.
good. Dude, the 90s, man. The 90s, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
But so this is where it gets interesting. He does something in 1997 that I don't think like more than a handful of people have ever done, right?
I-
He wins an Oscar for your favorite movie. I'm going to let you guess it.
LA Confidential.
Yeah. So he writes as a team on LA Confidential and wins the writing Oscar for 1997. I mean, all-time classic movie. It's so good. It's
One
so
of my
good.
favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, and it says a lot about why the writing in A Knight's Tale is so good, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this guy knows what
absolutely.
he's doing.
Yeah.
But this is the part that makes it something that's really only been done like a scant few times. In 1997, he also wins a Razzie.
Oh,
Yeah, he wins a Razzie for writing, and I don't know. I have a bone to pick with this one for The
God.
Postman.
Oh, those bastards.
Yeah, The
There's
Postman.
no way The Postman was the worst written movie from that
No,
year. That
that
movie
the
is
3-hour
good.
epic about Kevin Costner delivering the mail. That's
But like that's actually like that movies get so much unfair hate. Like that was a good movie.
oh yeah, I like that movie a lot. Yeah, I like that movie a ton.
That's insane.
But no,
Yeah,
so
we gotta
that's
credit
the
it.
big thing in '97, and then we'll kind of speed up here a little bit.
That's
This is
hilarious.
the part with the directing where it gets interesting. So 1999, he has a screenplay credit and I believe a directing credit on Payback, another Mel Gibson movie. But this is a movie that he gets fired from 2 days after he wins his Oscar for LA Confidential.
What? That's insane.
They're like already filming. I think they were filming already, but they might have been in like pre-production. But if he got a directing credit, he must have filmed some stuff. Um, but yeah, he gets fired from Payback 2 days after winning the Oscar for LA Confidential.
Talk about a
And
come
then yeah,
down from heaven.
yeah, and then I mean, from there he just works a lot, right? Like A Knight's Tale is next, right? He writes, directs, and produces that.
So this is kind of like pretty much his first directing credit. I don't know if we could really count Payback if he got fired from it.
Right, and he doesn't direct a lot after this. He directs a
Okay.
movie called The Order in 2003.
Never heard of it.
Me neither. And then he writes for a while, but he doesn't come back to directing for later. There's a couple more credits we got to talk about here, though. 2002. Do you remember the movie Bloodwork?
Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah, where Clint Eastwood gets the heart transplant or like
Yes, of the serial, right? Isn't it like the heart transplant of like a killer or something?
No, I either a killer or like one of the killer's victims. Like he gets like a lady's husband's heart, and then he
Yeah.
solves the husband's murder.
Murder. Yes.
Like,
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, dude, movies were so insane back in the day.
so much
Like,
better. He gets a credit on Mystic River in
oh, fucking
2003, which
fantastic
is an
movie.
all-time great movie. He
Yeah.
gets a screenplay credit on Man on Fire
Ooh,
in
great movie.
2004.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
a great Denzel movie.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna burn through a couple here. The Taking of Pelham 123 in 2009.
Another Denzel.
Cirque du Freak, that John
What?
C. Riley movie.
Never heard of that.
It's like a YA kind of movie where John C.
Gotcha.
Riley plays a vampire.
Oh god.
I've never seen Green Zone, so I'm not sure what that is.
I think is that Matt Damon?
Maybe. It looks like him in the poster. Let me click on it.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, Matt Damon, Jason Isaacs.
yeah, not great. Not a big fan of that movie.
Okay, so he gets a credit on Green Zone. He gets a credit on 2010's Robin Hood.
That's the Russell Crowe one, right?
Yeah, that's the Russell.
Oh boy, they're
Yeah.
returning
then,
to his medieval roots, but not nearly as tongue in cheek.
Yeah, then we're gonna get back to directing a little bit, and I think we'll play a little this or that for these last couple, right?
Yeah.
Because these are interesting ones. This is a director and a written by credit movie for him. Would you take A Knight's Tale or 42?
Ooh. Wow, dude, that's actually tough.
right? Because they're so different.
Yeah, dude, 42 is really good. Fuck. What would you pick?
I don't think I've ever seen 42.
Oh, you fucker, you cop out fuck.
I
Uh,
have no help to give you on this one, my friend.
um, I'm gonna go with A Knight's Tale. Only because I only watched 42 once in theaters. I would have to see it again to really
Yeah,
be able to give it a good one. I do
yeah,
remember really liking that movie though, but I'm gonna edge it out to A Knight's Tale for now.
gotcha. All right, that's fair. I have to maybe watch 42 because it sounds like you really liked
It
it.
is a really it's a hey, it's a sports movie right up as it's pretty much the same thing as A Knight's Tale.
Okay, so then
Dude, it
would you
basically
say?
is the same movie as A Knight's Tale because 42 is about Jackie Robinson, about a guy who wants to change his
Oh,
stars and
oh,
station in
dude, no
life.
way. They like weren't allowed to play. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Dude, it's just A Knight's Tale. Oh my God.
Wow. Somebody definitely gave this guy this movie on purpose. Either that or he like pitched it all over again and was like, God, I don't think they've seen A Knight's Tale. Like,
He's like,
I think I
listen,
could get away with
he's like,
this.
no one
Like,
saw A Knight's Tale. We're gonna remake it again, but with Jackie Robinson.
you want box office gold. That's box office gold for you right there. All right, so then
Now we're talking.
he gets another writer director on this one. Would you take A Knight's Tale or Legend?
Knight's Tale. I do not like that movie. That's the one
I
with
didn't
where
like that
Tom
movie
Hardy
either.
plays
I
the
think so, yeah. It's
twins, right?
2015 Legend. He plays like the twin gangsters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not a great movie.
And then have you seen Finest Kind? I don't think I saw this.
Finest Kind.
Yeah, it came out in 2023. It's another one where he gets a writer director. Looks like Jenna Ortega's in it.
Really? This
What, Ben
it must have come out on
Foster?
streaming.
Dude, Ben Foster is in this movie. I'm not sure who Toby Wallace is. I don't recognize this picture. Jenna Ortega, Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, what the
That's
fuck?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I gotta go
Dude, see,
watch this
that's what
movie.
I hate about streaming movies is that like movies like that will come out with like people that I would watch in a movie and you never even hear about it. It's just like it's just there.
Yeah,
Like, what did that even come
dude,
out on?
I have no idea, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm looking at IMDb.
Like
Oh, I
it
guess Paramount Plus is where it's streaming right
that's what I'm
now. I don't know
saying.
if it got released
Fucking
there.
like because if you don't use the streamer, you'll never see an ad for it coming out.
Yeah, it's Paramount Plus because there's in the pictures there's like a red carpet photo of Jenna Ortega in front of like a backdrop and it's got the Paramount Plus logo and then the movie title. So yeah, I think it was a Paramount Plus movie that I think I might just go watch tonight.
Yeah,
Because if you tell
yeah.
me that this guy whose IMDb we just went through wrote and directed a movie starring Ben Foster, I've never been more in for anything in my entire life. I want to watch that movie
That's what I'm
so bad.
saying. Like, man, fuck streaming. I fucking hate streaming.
Dude, just go watch it. Do you not have Paramount Plus?
I don't have Paramount Plus.
Dude, free trial, bro. It's worth
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm gonna have to. No, I just mean like fuck them in the sense that like there's no like build up to hype or anything. Like these movies just drop and you and like that came out what probably like months ago and we're just hearing about it now
It
doing
came
a
out in
deep dive.
2023. I don't know exactly when it released, but yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways though, because like this is the kind of movie where I don't know if it gets made if there's not streaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if Paramount isn't throwing money at something that they think I'm gonna go watch on their thing. I don't know like that this is getting released in a studio, like and released in theaters. You know what I mean?
No, I could see both sides of it. It's just frustrating.
Whoa, and hold on. Do you want to know the plot of the movie? It sounds a lot like The Perfect Storm, honestly.
Oh boy. Yeah, all right.
A
What's
crew
the
of
plot?
fishermen tread dangerous waters when their debts start to pile up.
Yeah, that pretty much is the perfect storm.
I mean, that sounds like the first 15 minutes of that movie to me, yeah.
That's hilarious. So Jenna Ortega is the girl who's left behind to like worry about Ben
I
Foster
guess
out on
we
the
gotta watch
water.
it, dude. That's the only
Oh,
way.
yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it now. So I guess that's my
Um,
next thing I'm watching.
yeah, and then just one more writing credit here. I'm not gonna this or that it because I don't know if you saw this. This is another streaming movie, I think. He got a screenplay by credit on Spencer Confidential.
Is that the Mark Wahlberg
Yeah, the
fucking?
Mark Wahlberg Netflix movie.
I did watch that, unfortunately.
I guess you'll take A Knight's Tale.
I would absolutely take A Knight's Tale.
Nice.
Yeah, that's that fucking movie. But yeah, this guy has done some very good movies. One
Yeah,
of
it just
some very good movies, and then one of my all-time favorite movies. So
yeah,
absolute
and
legend in my book.
this is kind of the when guys like this come up, this is kind of how I want to do IMDb deep dive, like spend a little more time like really like discussing their career, like the ups and downs, like because this is a guy I don't know that this guy's really a household name, but he really should be, like
Yeah, yeah, like he would join the legions of other writers and directors that I don't even need a plot. If I saw his name attached, I'm in.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just off of LA Confidential alone. Like he'll get that for the rest of my life that he makes movies. He
Yeah.
earned that status thanks to LA Confidential.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But it's all right. I think maybe we've come. Do you have anything else to add before we get to our scores?
No, I think the only thing left is to dive into those beautiful, beautiful ratings of ours. So cue up my favorite man, Mr. Roger Ebert.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
Right, Raj. We are about to talk about a great film. It's great when that lines up.
Yeah, I might have to work on one where I, like, say
All
nice
right,
things about
Jim.
it.
We dove in. We did the deep dive. Now it's time to see where this bad boy is going to land on the list. It came in last place for opening weekend and for worldwide gross, but I don't think that's going to be the case here on our list. So let's hear it. Final ratings and thoughts for A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, so I said that this movie wasn't gonna match my score. Like what I was saying about it wasn't gonna match the score I gave it
Okay.
because I can't quite bring myself to give it a 5. Even though I like heaped praise on it for a lot. Um I don't know, like I kind of want to at least reserve like that tops of the tops for movies that like really 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 go above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5 because I really really love it. It's really great.
Fair. Honestly, when you said earlier that your score wasn't going to reflect what you were talking about, in my head, I instantly started thinking three, because four was where I thought you were going to land, originally.
Okay.
Because I knew that you are much more reserved in your 5-star ratings in the sense, like you just said, you want to reserve it for those movies that really go, above and beyond and smash every single one of those expectations. So I thought four was going to be your original one. So when you first said that, I was like, oh shit, is he going to give this movie a three?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you know me better than most people, but I've been on my liberated gym run where I gave out a 5 last week. I gave a 4 to Doctor Doolittle too. So like, I just like I thought the way I was when you were like when we talked about what we didn't like, and I was like, I don't know, like,
I
I
know it
thought
is
that
always
maybe a
weird.
5 would seem appropriate to people, but yeah,
Yeah.
just a 4.
Yeah, no, it is always weird when we get those movies that we did really enjoy, and with gun pointed to our head, it's tough to find things you dislike about a movie other than nitpicks, but then you don't give it the five, and it's like, yeah, it's just like I can't explain why it doesn't get the five. I just know that there's just like one or two things missing from it to get that
Yeah,
five.
yeah.
And I'm right there with you. I'm also going to give this movie a 4. I
Ooh,
was the same
nice.
thing. I didn't have a lot of criticisms or anything about it, but as enjoyable and fun and a great ride that it is, it does feel like it's missing that one last little thing that'll get it to be a 5. And I couldn't give you an answer if you asked me what that one little thing is. You just know that there's just something there that's keeping
Yeah.
it from that 5. Because like LA Confidential, that's a fucking 5.
Yeah,
And
that's a 5, all right.
yeah,
Yep. And
like that's a
they're
5.
not the same level. They're
Yeah.
not the same level.
Exactly. So this settles in just behind it, like not far behind it, but just behind it with like a top of the praise of a 4, for A Knight's Tale. So I'm going same as you with a 4. And that gives us finally a new rating. We've been doing a lot
Ooh,
of
it
7s and
stands alone.
3.5s. Yeah, it finally stands alone with your 4 and my 4. It's given us an all around score of an 8, our first 8 to join the rankings here. And I think 8 is perfect for it. And I think 8 puts it in the perfect spot also, because now it's going to sit in the number 4 spot, just behind Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which sits with a 9, and just ahead of Jurassic Park: The Lost World with a 7.5.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That
Like that
good to
sounds
me.
perfect. Like that's exactly where that movie should be. So I am very happy with how that one turned out. You got me scared for just a second when you were like,
No,
it's
no,
not going to
no, no.
reflect. And I was like, oh my
I
God.
wasn't gonna let this movie get a 7. No
I
way.
was like, old Jim's coming back with a 3. No way. But yeah, no, that's good. All right. So in 8, we get our first 8 on the board. So we're only right. The only new numbers we can get now, Jim, are bad ones to see if we ever get below 3.5. Because every other one
So
we've
we
really,
have everything between 3.5 and 10 filled
yeah,
in.
yeah. Now with
Nice.
that 8, well, I guess if we're also doing the 8.5 hasn't shown up yet either. But
Yeah.
as
Okay,
far
yeah.
yeah, as far as 1 through 10 go on the round, we've hit everything, but 2 and 1 at this point.
Yeah, we're running out of room for not having to tie break things at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are going to start having to do a lot of tiebreakers very soon, as we come into these movies. Though I do want to say, as we look ahead now, this is episode 20. We're about to go into another 9 of movies that I've seen in theaters. We're approaching the end of 2001, going into 2002, and I took a look ahead at some of the movies that are going to be coming up. I think there is a chance that we can be seeing some 2s and 1s soon. I
boy.
think we are going to get into the dregs on some of these movies. 2002 was a wild ride of movies for me. You've got a lot of highs and some insane lows, so it's going to be a lot of fun to dive into
Fair
what's to
enough.
come over the next 9 movies that we're going to dive into. And I'm not going to spoil too much into the future for you, but we will give you the guess for next week's
For next
episode.
week, yeah.
Yes. And the only thing I'm going to tell you, this might give it away because you do know a lot about movies along with me, but I think this might be a decent hint. The
Okay.
only hint I will give you is that we are continuing the medieval theme.
Ooh. Continuing the medieval theme in 2002.
Oh no, we're still at the tail end. 2001, I said.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
interesting.
you already. Oh,
Okay.
I thought you had it already.
Is it the Fellowship?
Oh, do we consider the Fellowship of the Ring medieval?
I mean, they got swords and shit.
I guess I would figure that more fantasy, but I guess those
Okay,
go
so
hand.
it's that's fair. That's fair. So it's like true to life medieval.
I wouldn't say it's. I mean, more true to life than the Lord of the Rings. Let's say that.
Okay.
It's
In
before
2001. I don't know.
in
You might have me
2001.
stumped, dude.
It's before the Lord of the Rings.
You might have me stumped. I'm not sure.
Ooh, do you want another hint? You want the genre?
Yeah, make it easier. Let's say I lost, but let's make it a little easier so I can at least guess it.
Okay. It's a comedy.
It's a comedy
Yeah.
set in medieval times.
Yeah.
What? Dude, that made it so much harder.
We talked about it in last week's episode. We briefly mentioned it because it was in the box office at the same time as Harry Potter.
Oh, shit. Why don't I remember? That's the easiest way to remember. You got me though because we talked about something totally different. I didn't get to look at the box office for that movie while we were doing it.
Oh yeah.
A medieval comedy. That's so wild. What in 2001? I'm
You're gonna
I'm
hate.
at a loss, dude.
You're gonna hate yourself when I say it out loud.
Oh my god. Is it like really easy?
Um, I don't know about easy, but you've talked about it before. So the fact that it's stumping you, I would have thought you
I don't know, dude. You
said
got me. What is it?
Martin Lawrence's Black Knight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did talk about that last week. Oh, dude.
Yep, we are
Wow,
doing
that's a movie I haven't seen in a minute.
yep, the 2001 comedy Black Knight with Martin
Wow.
Lawrence.
Talk about one I'm interested to see how it holds up. That's,
Yep. I also have not watched that movie in a very long time, so it's going to be very interesting to return to
I'm
that movie.
I'm excited though. I watched Blue Streak recently and I kind of dug that. So we'll see. We'll see.
No, I have a sneaking suspicion that this movie is going to hold up way better than like we possibly think it will. Like
Yeah.
we were saying with Shallow Hal when we were going to do that one, where we were like, yeah, I don't think that one's going to hold up. I think this one's going to hold up. I think it's going to be comedy gold.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about this movie before we go off and watch it, is that whenever he walked into a room, those guys would come with the horns and start playing him into the room. Like they would like appear out of nowhere. I just remember that.
Well, it's funny that we talked in this episode about the classic rock in A Knight's Tale, which the one big thing that I remember from Black Knight is when they ask Martin Lawrence for a song from his land and he gets the band to play Sly and the Family
Oh yeah, they
Stone.
played Sly and the Family Stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So 2 weeks of Sly and the Family Stone also. That should have been my hint. Oh, you never would have got it.
No, I'm trying to think what you could have said other than Martin Lawrence is in it for me to get Black Knight. I don't think I ever would have come up with that with anything else.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, doesn't he just wear a Jet jersey throughout the whole movie too?
Either like a Jets or like an Eagles jersey. Like
Yeah,
he's got a sports jersey
Yeah,
on.
he's
like,
got
the whole
some
time,
sports
yeah.
jersey on. Oh God, yeah, this movie's gonna hold up. This movie I think is gonna hold up very well. I'm very excited.
I mean, Martin Lawrence is really funny, so
Yeah, so that's gonna be a fun one to dive into. So make sure you're here next week, people, when we dive into the absolute comedy classic that is Black Knight. Jim, as always, do you have anything to leave the people with?
yeah, sure. I'll just play a clip from A Knight's Tale that I didn't have a chance to play.
I only laugh just to keep from weeping.
Just because that made me laugh. I don't know.
Well, listen, you gotta laugh just to keep from weeping. That's good advice right there. That you could apply that at any point in your life. So that was good, Jim. That's gonna leave the people with some good words of wisdom there this week.
Thanks. I suppose it's better than the nothing I usually do. So
That is true. That is true. You have a very nihilistic words of wisdom for them week after week. Just nothing.
Yeah.
But he gave you something this week, people. So take that home with you and apply it to your real world life. It will help you immensely. But that will do it for all of us here at Front Row Cinema in this episode. Until next week, as always, we'll see you at the movies.